Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. Today, we are discussing a 2014 launch from Zenith of Lulloch, Switzerland. This is the Chronomaster Tribute to Charles Vermeaux. Charles Vermeaux was a factory foreman back in the mid-70s when the American electronics firm that owned the Zenith brand decided to fold mechanical watchmaking and focus strictly on quartz. Vermeaux, as legend has it, and the legend has quite a bit of evidence to bear it out, he hid the tooling and the plans for the El Primero in a loft above one of the factory buildings, where they would be uncovered about a decade later as the quartz crisis ended and the demand for mechanical chronographs suddenly outstripped the Swiss industry's capacity to build them. The tooling and the plans for the El Primero were brought back. It was returned to service, most notably for the sake of Rolex and Abel, and of course, along with that, Zenith's own chronograph watches. So this is part of the Chronomaster Open series, and it's a fairly sizable watch, though not oversized, in steel, at 42 millimeters in diameter, 13.5 millimeters thick, and from lug tip to lug tip, it is 50.4 millimeters with a 21 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Most of these were sold on straps, so to get the full factory bracelet is a real treat. It gives you more value, plus in a 100-meter water-resistant watch, it allows you to just jump into the water without worrying about swapping out a strap. Plus, with the bracelet being a lifetime accessory for the watch, it'll save you hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars in replacement straps over time. It does cause the watch to wear a little bit larger in my experience. I believe you could wear this watch on a wrist my size or larger, so let's say 16 centimeters circumference and up, and my wrist is 16 centimeters in circumference. The bracelet's a lovely piece, and one of the undersold virtues of this bracelet is the way the pieces are countersunk into each other, which results in very, very little lateral play. It feels all of a piece and redoubtable. You can see there are gaps between the center links to vent the wrist, but take note of this. Every single link in the bracelet is removable and fixed by screws at that, so you will get the right size. Also take note that there is a intermediate sized link right here towards the end near the clasp, so if you find yourself in between link sizes, that little intermediate is your bailout. Twin trigger double folding clasp, a lot of security here. You have to press both triggers to pop it open. Zenith with the company's star logo. And then the case itself, familiar to Chronomaster fans, you can see we've got a combination of the squared off lug ends, the soft bevel along the case line, satination on the lug hoods, pump style pushers, push down crown. There's even a little kerf underneath the crown so you can dig in with your nail and pop it out. The crystal is dramatically boxed and cambered, almost as though it were designed to look like a plexiglass. Then we've got a blue metallic sunburst dial with a brushed silver track featuring seconds and minutes. We've got baton-style hands that are loomed. We've got applique rhodium-plated and faceted steel hour indices. We've got a tachometric scale outboard for gauging speed of, say, a race car across a kilometer using the chronograph. And then we've got chronograph minutes, chronograph hours, and an open dial. Originally launched back on the Chronomaster Open in 2003. It was the brainchild of Terry Nataf, who's a controversial guy in the annals of Zenith history, but this idea of an open dial to show the escapement was one of his most enduring contributions. Not only still something Zenith builds to this day, but something that's been copied across the industry, giving you about 90% of the satisfaction of a tourbillon for 10% of the price. It's also nicely done, as you can see the bezel that frames this portion of the movement features a combination of polish and then blued screws holding it in place. If we get a little bit closer, you can see that there's a tri-spoke. It's the extended pinion of the fourth wheel that has a small calibrated second scale, so that acts as the seconds hand of the watch. Then we've got a silicon escapement. If you look right there, the silicon escape wheel actually has a star as its spokes, just like the Zenith logo, and it's beaten away at 36,000 vibrations per hour, which is the famed 10 beat per second rate of the El Primero, 5 hertz. You'll also note that because these two components are silicon, they're anti-magnetic, very light in mass, low in mass, light in weight, I should say, and able to operate unlubricated, so a very smart upgrade over the traditional El Primero. And I should mention that it did take an all-new movement to make this possible, because on a conventional El Primero, even if you removed the dial, you would not be able to see through the bridges and plates to have a view of the terminal end of the drivetrain and the oscillator. That takes a special movement construction. The watch will flip over. Features a caliber 4061 caliber. It's basically the 400, but with the see-through bridges and plates. Bidirectional automatic winding, 50 to 52 hour power reserve. It is a certified COSC Swiss chronometer. Not all El Primeros are, but this one is. You can see tribute to Charles Vermeau. And this one doesn't have a date, so it doesn't feature a quick set. We have 31 pivot jewels, and you can see the combination. Let me try to get that rotor out of the way. You can see the combination of the lateral clutch and the blued column wheel. And though the finishing here is mechanical in its application, it's quite attractive. The fact that the chronograph clutch, horns, hammers, and column wheel, plus the levers, are all visible makes the El Primero one of the most visually appealing and attractive automatic chronograph calibers, as automatic chronos as a class tend to be fairly, I would call them plain. I'm not going to say an eyesore, but plain. You generally can't see the clutches because it all hides underneath a winding bridge. Well, here the winding bridge is barely there, so it's a great looking movement. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.